Hi Gears fan, and welcome back to a new video analysis. Over the past few days, the multiplayer of Gears of War Eday has finally been revealed. We had the chance to try the new modes early, together with other content creators connected to the franchise, while the Coalition released 2 official trailers filled with scenes that even we had not been able to see until then. One of the most interesting new details is the large number of playable characters. Some are familiar faces, others were introduced only recently, while many are appearing here for the first time. In this video, we will try to identify them and gather everything we can understand about their possible roles. We will exclude the members of Bravo Squad and follow, whenever possible, the order in which they appear in the videos. Let's begin with Tai Kaliso. Tai has already appeared in several games in the series and has also been explored further through novels and comics. His new design seems to combine elements of his look in Gears 2 with the one seen in Ram Shadow. Among the Premium Edition bonuses, there is also a second skin called Blooded Hunter. It shows Tai holding a chainsaw, just like in the cutscene where he saves Marcus at the Pay and Save. Could the chainsaw also be freely used in the game? Next is Akila Gray, who appears in many scenes but had already been shown during the Xbox game showcase in June. She is clearly a high-ranking military officer, most likely a major. We are almost certain that she will be the one to welcome Marcus, Dom and the others, bringing them together as the squad we will follow during the campaign. Akila is a completely new character. Her build, heavy armor, and the way she fights the Locust make her look like a Pendulum Wars veteran who is used to fighting on the front line. Her less feminine design has divided some fans, but the women of Gears have always been true badasses. If she is written with the same care Karen Travis brought to her characters, she could become a very interesting presence. Another face that immediately stands out is this middle-aged man dressed in blue. We are convinced that he is a new character and not just a multiplayer skin based on a historical figure like Nassar Embry, who died long before. Like the other characters shown in the videos, he should come directly from the campaign and the events of Eday. His clothing makes us think he may be an important political figure in Kelowna, or an official sent by Daliel to oversee the defense of the city. Across the different games in the series, the people with the most authority have often also become the COG announcers in Versus. During our preview, we discovered that the voice guiding players through online matches belongs to a man named Trench. Since that name also appears in gameplay in connection with the man in blue, the link between the two seems clear. And now suddenly we reach the reason many of you opened this video: Carmine. That's right. Everything suggests that Eday will also feature a new member of the family. His introduction was extremely subtle, and if the name Carmine had not appeared in a single scene, we would never have expected this kind of reveal. However, once we separate and examine the different COG soldiers shown in the videos, this gear quickly stands out. Unlike the others, his armor has some very clear custom details, with white graffiti and the words "No Yield" painted on one shoulder. This strongly recalls the words "Grub Killer" that Clayton will later write on his own armor. A customization like this feels especially rebellious in the strict military setting of the Pendulum Wars. The Carmine family has no connection to the South Islands, and for them, decorating armor is not part of a cultural tradition. These markings therefore seem to be a completely personal choice, made to stand out and challenge the uniformity imposed by the army. This makes it difficult to believe that he could be the father of the 4 Carmine brothers. At this point in the timeline, the father should already be a certain age, since at least his older sons are already adults. It is therefore much more likely that this is the second oldest brother, the famous D. Carmine, who has never been shown before and will one day become Lizzie's father. His presence in Eday would not only connect the original trilogy to the newer games, but would finally put a face, so to speak, to one of the biggest mysteries left unresolved in the series. Quentin Michaelelsson is not a new character at all, but most of his story has only been told through novels and comics. In the games, he had only a very small cameo in Gears 3. He was the commander of the Sovereign who dies just a few steps away from Prescott at the beginning of the game, during the Lament attack. That was basically the end of his presence in the games, despite the much more important role he played in the history of the COG. We are therefore very happy to finally see him in action, especially in a younger version that is fully involved in the political world of the Coalition before the war completely devastated Serra. Gil Getner also comes directly from the novels and comics. Introduced by Karen Travis, we first met Gil while she was transporting Delta Squad during its missions. Eday will finally mark her debut in a video game. She had already been shown in June and later returned in a very intense cutscene with the onboard specialist. By looking through the new footage frame by frame, we also found a very short scene where Gil is wearing full COG armor. This could mean that, at some point in the story, she will leave her beloved Raven to fight on the front line with the other soldiers. Or it may simply be a skin connected to her past. Manu, whose full name we still do not know, is a COG soldier from Pahanu, as shown on his shoulder. His armor uses the same green color linked to Tai and Mako Kemara. This could suggest that soldiers from the South Islands belong to a specific division. Manu's helmet and armor look very similar to Mako's, but they feature different graffiti, such as the two large white wings painted on his chest. For now, we still do not know what role he will have in the story. Moving on, we reach another face we had already seen, but whose name we did not know until now: Rustin. He appeared at the end of the video holding the first prototype of the Lancer fitted with a chainsaw bayonet. The scene seems to take place in the military camp set up inside Oria Stadium, where Rustin may be responsible for technical support and equipment maintenance. This makes it very likely that he is the engineer tasked with building the first prototype. We believe that, after surviving the first wave of Locust, Marcus may have contacted his father Adam to make sure he was safe and to tell him how effective the chainsaw had been against the enemy's scaly skin. Adam may then have sent the necessary plans, leaving Rustin to assemble the prototype in the field and start handing it out to the soldiers in Kelowna. Shin is another soldier who had already appeared in promotional material made with NVIDIA, where he stood beside Tai and Major Shaw. The symbols on his armor and the fact that he is always shown using the medic class in Horde Siege make us think this may also be his role in Kaliso's squad. We still do not know much about him, but his presence in several scenes and beside a character like Tai makes us think we will see him several times during the campaign. This heavily armored soldier has often been wrongly linked to Carmine. However, it is much more likely that he is simply the heavy version of the standard COG soldier, with no real identity in the story. As mentioned earlier when discussing Gil, the cutscene shown at Unreal Fest also features specialist Don Riggs. We still know very little about him, and the ending of that scene did not seem to promise him a very bright future. However, we know that he will be one of the playable characters in multiplayer. Finally, we come to Mako Kemara. Mako had already been shown more clearly than some of the others, although only in a short scene. He is the soldier Marcus and the others save from the wretches at the Pay and Save. His armor is also green like the other two, and it is almost identical to Manu's, but with different graffiti and without the two large white wings on the chest. We are very curious to see what happens to him after he is rescued, since at one point he disappears from the cutscene. For now, the information we have is still limited, but it is interesting to see that the Coalition has avoided the easiest path. Instead of constantly bringing back famous names for fanservice, the studio seems determined to truly expand the world of Gears, introducing new characters who can cross paths with the few familiar faces who actually make sense in Kelowna during Eday. We know that every main character we meet in the story will be playable in multiplayer from day one. Others, such as Baird and Cole or fallen Pendulum Wars veterans like Carlos and Helena, could return in future seasons as the game continues to receive support. For now, that's all. We hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Screech93. This is Go Series Videos. Thanks for watching.